Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Yolanda and welcome to Unfiltered Me. So today's video we're gonna be talking about how temptation has no power over us. And so yeah, if you guys are excited for this video, make sure to give this video a huge thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe down below. Make sure to turn on post notifications to be notified when I post. And if I do, let's get on with this video. Today we're going to be in Matthew 4, and I'm really excited for this one because it hit, and I was just like, wow, like what a great example of Christ, you know, that he set like before us here, and literally like directly from the enemy, like it was coming at him, but like no, he did not cave in at all. So let's deep dive into this. But basically, yeah, so this chapter is basically when Satan is trying to tempt Jesus in the wilderness. Let me tell you, he came for him 3 times. And let me tell you, you want to know how much times he failed? None of them. He was able to resist temptation. And I'm here to tell you, we can too, just like him. So let's deep dive into what exactly happened. So the first, thing that happened was Jesus was fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, and eventually became hungry. And Satan, he came and he was like, "You hungry? If you turn these stones into bread, then you'll have food to eat." It's like, no. And he was basically saying, like, people don't live by like the food, but we could also be nourished by the words of God. Bars, literally bars. I'm like, whoa, because sometimes when fasting it's just like, wow, like I'm so hungry, but when you open up that Bible, like I feel like spiritually so nourished. I forget that I'm even actually hungry. And then he tried to test him again. They took him to, it says, the holy city Jerusalem, to the highest points. He was like, the angels will protect you if you just jump out, you'll be fine. But God is like, Jesus is like, no, like, I'm not going to test them like that. And the final third thing that happened was they took him to a very peak high mountain. And he's like, look, man, I promise you, I can do something. If you just kneel and if you just worship up to me, if you just praise me, he said, I'll bless you with all these riches and gold and jewelry and stuff like that. And you know what he said? The only person I serve is God. And then he told him to leave out, and as he should though. And like honestly, like it's such like a good lesson. Like this man was fasting. He was like being like, so like, hey, like you can have food there if you just turn into it. And he was saying like, I can bless you like all this riches and stuff. And he was even saying like, if you jump, like you can see like the angels will protect you. And it's interesting like how Satan tries to come to us, like even our own lives, like, and the thing is like temptation, don't mind this in the middle of my head, your girl's trying to get like clear skin before prom and spring break. But what I was trying to say is temptation, because I did not convey it right here, but I was just trying to say temptation does not always come in the most like obvious ways. Like sometimes it's when you're in the most weakest point or even strongest point of your life, and something happens and it can be very tempting to fall back, just to choose something even though the decision would be better off to do something else. And that's how it gets us, like not just in the obvious way, but in the ways when we're just not thinking about it, when we're too focused in the world and just like with things going on and not really like keeping Christ in mind all the time, and just thinking about like, oh, what would he do and what would he decide? Like sometimes like our desires, like it just leads us, but like also comes in ways that he knows would get us. Like I feel like for me recently it's been like kind of some of the people that I've hung around, and it's like I've stepped away from some things of my life, but knowing that them being close to me, I've kind of almost like fell back into it. But I have to always remind myself how far I've come by, Even honestly, just a situation yesterday, somebody was coming at me in my personal life, and that was like a true attack. And then they were trying to say like all this stuff to me, and then basically how I was the same person from last year, but they didn't know me last year. That's the whole thing though, which is crazy. I just met them like 3 weeks ago, but I told them things about my past, of course, because I was comfortable to a level, and I was just like confiding in them, right? And they tried using that against me. And I was gonna come back and I was gonna be like, hey, like, you don't know how far like I've come. I'm not that person that I was then. And I could have gone back and like said, like, I was gonna say all this stuff to them, and I literally had like a huge paragraph written, and that's how the Lord, like, Satan knows how literally that's how like I be mean. Like, I can write one mean text, or I could go like yell on the phone over. And like, I'm kind of like notorious, but like if it's like really bad, like I usually, like, I'm the person to say how I feel, and I'm not afraid of that confrontation. I will admit that, right? And I knew I had the potential to say all that, but in the moment, like, I don't know what it was, but like I really was just like, it's just not worth it. And I told myself, in literally in the beginning part of the message, it was like I said, like, at the end of the day, you can say whatever, but I am confident and secure in myself and love myself enough to know that, like, that does not define me. Like, what you say means absolutely nothing. I've come so far to let one person, like, come and denounce all of my progress that I've made. And I was gonna say, like, yeah, how like it's a reflection of yourself, but I chose not to. I chose not to go deep. I could have went deeper. There is so much I had in this person, but I chose not to. I knew that they weren't good for me originally, but I don't know why I kept associating myself with them. Some other things would have happened also, but I'm so glad that, like, I was able to handle this situation maturely. I stood my ground. I stood on business for sure. And I remember I had that huge message, and I put in my notes, and I was like, I'm gonna make this longer, yada yada yada. And I remember I copied it, and then I went back to my notes, and then I just like deleted all the messages, and then I just said one sentence, and it's literally what he said to me, because it's literally what they said to me. They're calling me like emotional and sensitive and dramatic and all this stuff, when they were the one typing up big paragraphs trying to say things about me that weren't even true. And I remember I just said, as you were saying, and I did ... question mark, and then I blocked after that. And I was just like, that was a perfect response in my opinion. But all in all, I'm just saying is that, like, I'm glad that I was able to like get through that moment. And I'm a little bit ahead in the scripture, so as you guys are seeing this video, I'm ahead, but I'm still wanting to post for each chapter. But in this part I was reading, it was like Mathew 5. It was saying, pray for those that persecute you and people that mock you and this and that. And that's what I did, and that felt 100% more like right than to ever like go off and be mean back, because where is that gonna take us to, and just little things like that. I feel like if I would have handled it that way, I would have felt awful. It would have been huge going back and forth. It would have like made me sad and upset, and I would have been just like, but I'm trying to like be more peaceful, and it does feel more peaceful, and I just feel like content with the whole situation now, knowing that, like, hope that I prayed for them and hoping for that to go well, even though they weren't as nice to me. All in all, and to say here is that, like, position yourself. Like, I know we can't control people like in this situation or things that happen, but try as much as you can to position yourself so that you won't have to be facing some things. Like, let's say you don't want to be tempted to fall back into drugs. Maybe it wouldn't be the smartest idea to still surround yourself by people that do drugs now. Or let's say you're trying to get away from lustful stuff, right? Maybe it wouldn't help following like a bunch of guys or a bunch of girls on Instagram, because you know how it's gonna make you feel, or watching like suggestive like other material like movies or TV shows. Maybe just like with my situation, if it's a matter of like knowing like how you are, like, because like for me, like, I could like go off on people and just like really like take out like, and just I'm very confrontational in that way. And maybe it's just a matter of giving it an hour and then really like cooperating it, or just like giving somebody your phone or something like that, or just really like praying on it and about it, or even praying for that person and praying for y'all's situation so that you won't react in a way that's like ungodly, like just things of that manner though, and so forth. You know, there's a lot of things that will come our way for sure, but you're 100% made to handle and withstand anything, just like Jesus was able to in this, you know, story that I just told you. And so yeah, I really hope that this might have resonated with you guys, and just remember that if Jesus was able to resist temptations, so can we. Like, and so yeah, I really hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Peace is our dance.